Hey, how's it going everyone? My name is True UnderDawgz and I'm here today with an Android 21 guide. As many of you already know, I play her on every team that I possibly can because I love her design and her playstyle as well. And since many of you have requested more character guides on this channel according to a recent YouTube poll, I wanted to start things out with a character that I know very well. So first off, let's talk about the two main reasons why you would want to play Android 21. That is her biggest strength as a character. The first big strength is range. Her medium attacks have very good range. Now, her crouching medium did get nerfed after the patch, very sad to say. It's not quite as good as it once was, but it does have an alternate version, so if you hold down forward and do medium, you get a further reaching version, and it doesn't quite reach full screen. But it does go pretty far and has minimal tracking too, so it's not always the same spot. It does do its best to track the opponent's location. So that much is nice. You can still get certain combos, so for example, at max distance I can't do crouching medium anymore, but I can do the unique one into, say, her projectile, and then I can extend that with a vanish for a full combo. So even though her range was nerfed a little bit, she still has really good footsies. And the next big reason to play Android 21 is that damage. Her damage is definitely higher than most characters on the roster. Now it's not the highest, except in the corner. In the corner, I'd say it's very close to being up there. She gets very good damage in the corner, especially if you have assists at the ready, but even without an assist, just check out this crazy corner damage she can get. So that was all by myself solo, and I still did 55% damage, and that's mainly because her air heavy attack does not knock the opponent down, which allows for really great combos in the corner. And even from mid-screen, if you have the right assist, she can do some pretty crazy damage, so here's a standard mid-screen combo with an assist. And here we're actually getting more than 55%, right? Almost 60 with one simple assist, so that's some pretty good damage. It's nothing to sneeze at. Her damage might not be as insane as some characters like Cell or Gohan once he's leveled up, but she still has some pretty crazy damage for not much effort. So that's definitely another big plus for Android 21. However, let's talk about the drawbacks real quick, because she does have some glaring weaknesses as well. Android 21's biggest weakness, in my opinion, is no slide knockdown whatsoever. So like I touched on a bit earlier, if I launch the opponent and do light, they're not sent into a sliding knockdown. Now normally if characters don't have that option, they typically have a special move that allows them to get a slide knockdown instead, and she doesn't even have that. So no matter what special move I do, I don't get a slide knockdown. Instead I get a pop-up, so even if I spin the bar, right, even if I spin that chitta, I still don't get a slide knockdown. So that's one big minus for Android 21. It definitely ruins her pressure at mid-screen unless she has certain assists, right? By herself, she can't really pressure the opponent after a combo. She has to use an assist to get back in, and even in the corner, she doesn't get that slide knockdown. However, it's not all doom and gloom. There is one positive here. She does have some mix-ups in the corner. So for example, if I was to do a corner combo with Android 21 and end with a certain special move, I can then jump forward and put the opponent into what I call the blender. And this blender is basically either a normal attack or a throw, and they have to guess right every time. Because if they guess incorrectly, I'm going to get a lot of damage, because once again, Android 21 has crazy damage in the corner. So even though Android 21 does not have a slide knockdown, and I really wish she did, she still does have certain options she can do in the corner to pressure the opponent and do some mix-ups. Alright everyone, so that's a brief rundown of what makes Android 21 great and where she's lacking. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about her normals. Alright, so first up we have her light attacks, which really aren't that great. They're not bad either. And she does have a low hitting 2L, which a lot of characters don't have, right? She has a crouching light attack that hits low. Although that hitbox is a bit deceptive, ain't it? Doesn't quite reach as far as it should, Arxis. What you doing to my girl here? But yeah, it does hit low, which means empty jump lows are an option. So that's one huge plus. A lot of characters don't actually have that, so it's nice that she has an empty jump low setup that she can do. And her auto combo isn't very great either. It's very standard. Nothing special about it, except the third hit does hit a bit above her, so it can sometimes catch people trying to jump away. But it's not a really great auto combo in any stretch. Nothing special about her light attacks, really. And honestly, her air light attack is a bit awful, so check this out. Her instant air dash light attack will whiff over most of the cast, so she doesn't even have that option. So let me go ahead and have Goku block here real quick too, just to show how bad this can actually be. So even if I super dash, sometimes people try to dash forward and do light attacks, right, to pressure the opponent. She can't even do that, it whiffs. So her jumping light attack is not good after instant air dashes at all. It's one of her biggest glaring weaknesses in my opinion. She can't really do that consistently, or it might miss. Now thankfully she has a very godlike jumping medium, and it pretty much makes up for everything, but just a word to the wise, if you're trying to pick up Android 21, drop the instant air dash light. It's nothing you want to do pretty much ever. You don't want to do it most of the time, is what I'm trying to say. I'm stumbling a bit, but basically you never want to use it. And we already discussed the mediums quite a bit at the start of the video, so here's a quick rundown. First up we have standing medium. This is your go-to normal in the neutral. Oftentimes I'll find myself running in and just doing it to see if I can hit the opponent trying to stick out a button. And I'll go for the low if it hits, and unfortunately at max distance it does whiff now. But a lot of the time you're just barely inside that range, so you keep the combo going. And if they block all of it, you can always do heavy and do a vanish, or you go for the command grab setup. This move is just straight up amazing. It also beats vanish situations in certain setups. So let me go ahead and show what that looks like. I'm going to go ahead and have Goku do a vanish string on me, then I'm going to backdash and punish it with standing medium. Now typically most characters use crouching medium for this, and Android 21 can do that too. I just wanted to show that her standing medium is so good that it works as well. It's just a great neutral tool. And next up we have the crouching medium, which was sadly nerfed, and it makes me really upset. I understand why they did nerf it, because it beat a lot of stuff at the start of the round, but then again so does Bardock and a couple other characters. You didn't take their stuff away on startup. But another big problem about this, aside from losing that start of the round advantage, is now that at max distance you can't just keep pressing medium, it'll actually whiff. So you have to use the unique version, which is down forward medium, or you could call that 3M as well. So down forward version actually does have pretty good tracking, and it combos into her projectile, although not from full screen I don't think, no. Unless you do the EX version then it would, but you're spending way too much meter there, so you don't want to do the heavy projectile, no way, no how. But you can always check the opponent from full screen, that's pretty cool. And I guess you could vanish, if you really wanted to do it and it got you the kill. You could do that, it does pretty decent damage for checking the opponent very far away at their feet, so it is good for that. And also at max distance you have to use the far reaching version, and unfortunately it knocks the opponent back, so you can't do a heavy to extend the combo. You have to do a special move into vanish, or you can go straight into vanish, or you can go into super and then tag super. There are options that you can do. The range on the crouching medium definitely has been nerfed, so now you have to find some workarounds to get better hit confirms. And last but not least we have the air medium, which has fantastic range as well. It's a great footsie tool. Instant air dash into medium. If you're close enough you can do medium light for a double overhead, which is very sneaky. You could even do hors d'oeuvre strike, and that's a triple overhead, so extra sneaky. So she has some very cool stuff she can do after that jumping medium. It's a very, very good tool. It's also great for crossing up because it has fantastic range. So you cross up the opponent, you get your combo, and go to town on that health bar. Just kill the health bar. And one last quick tip before we move on, the air medium can also be great after a blocked super dash, because it will still catch the opponent. So you can do this, 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 and so you still have your regular block string going on there, which is cool. You can still keep the opponent guessing. Honestly, Android 21's mediums are some of her best tools. And next up we have her heavy attacks, which are honestly all pretty darn good. So her standing heavy scoots her forward, which is awesome because it means that if you ever land crouching medium, standing heavy is always guaranteed, which is very, very nice. I absolutely love that. It also puts her close enough for certain setups afterwards, so you can make the opponent block and then go for her command grab if they're not expecting it, so that's a good unblockable setup. Not only do you steal a move, but you also get an unblockable setup. You can extend with vanish if you wish, and get a bit more damage that way too. And if you're near the corner, you can of course get a setup. So it's just really cool that she has that option after the heavy because it does scoot her forward. That makes it pretty good. And then we have the down heavy. This thing has an amazing hitbox, probably one of the best down heavy hitboxes in the game if you take into account the vertical and horizontal hitbox on it. Now the horizontal isn't the best, but it's almost exactly where her tail is, so it's a very good visual indicator. And then above her as well, it hits very, very high above her, which is awesome. It's honestly a very good down heavy. I've even seen people do a super dash, and then if you block their super dash, they just do down heavy, and it catches nearly any normal the opponent sticks out aside from their own down heavy. So it's just a fantastic normal in almost every situation. This down heavy really is godlike. And then last but not least we have her jumping heavy, which is amazing as well, because it actually crosses up on the opponent. It's very easy to do it after a jumping attack. However, I don't think it actually works after an instant air dash. I've been trying it over and over. I don't think the game actually allows it to cross up after an instant air dash unless you wait for it to correct, right? Because any character, if you wait, they can cross up no matter what. So for example, if I do her medium, and I just allow time, I can get the cross up every time. I just gotta wait for the character to turn around. She can do that too with the heavy, but it's very tough to time because it has longer startup, but it can still work in that regard. But you can't get a back-facing cross-up like you could with her jump, right? Her jump will cross up no matter what, even if you don't allow her time to turn around. But the instant air dash heavy, you have to give her time to correct, which means you don't want to use it anyway. You're better off using the jumping medium for sure. It's got a much easier time crossing up on the opponent. However, you can get the cross-up after a running jump, which is cool. So if you're dashing in on the opponent and jump, the air heavy can still cross up in that situation. So it's cool that she has several different cross-up options, and the air heavy is honestly really good for crossing up the opponent, and it's very ambiguous. It's hard for the opponent to know if I'm going to cross up or not in certain situations. And next up we have the key attacks, which are pretty standard but also do have their functions. So first up we have the standing key attack. Pretty fast, covers a good part of the screen too. The opponent's not going to be able to avoid this unless they're already in the air, or they could super dash through it, but if you predict that, you can down heavy, right? So that's always a good option. So it's pretty standard, it's good for vanishing, and you can do a block string into heavy and then end with it and vanish if it hits, and if not, you know, you're good to go. And then of course you have the mix up with the command grab instead, so they think a key blast is coming, but nope, it's a command grab, so now you've stolen their power, and you got a little bit of damage as well. So that's a pretty awesome option. The key blast is great for baiting that stuff out. And then you have her down key blast, which is the same as her jumping key blast, except she moves forward a bit with the jumping key blast. And if you do manage to land all three of them, it does about 1,000 damage, which is really good damage, especially for a standard key projectile. Now chances are you're not going to land all three, but at the very least it covers a good portion of the screen, so it is good for that. And there's also one extra nice thing about the down key blast version, and it's after a block string. So if I do a regular block string, I can do the down key blast to catch my opponent if they're trying to punish me for doing a heavy. So I can kind of retreat, get a bit of distance. If it hits, I can vanish on reaction. So she does have some utility for the down key blast as well, and I don't use it very often, and I'm starting to think that I definitely should, because it does have some good versatility. Alright, so that's about it for her normal attacks. Let's go ahead and talk about her special moves next. So first up we have quarter circle back and attack. This can be done in the air or on the ground, and all three versions are safe on block, which is something I didn't even know until I actually looked up her frame data, since I pretty much never do these attacks raw ever, for a couple of reasons. Even though it is safe on block, the opponent could down heavy you, so if you for whatever reason get a down heavy blocked when you're trying to anti-air or you're just trying to bait the opponent and you think they're going to super dash but they don't, and you find yourself getting caught after a down heavy, you could try and save yourself with the hors d'oeuvre strike, but chances are the opponent's still going to down heavy you regardless. Even if you do super dash or if you do hors d'oeuvre strike, it's the same thing on block. So even though it is safe and you could throw it out every now and then, just be wary of that down heavy because it will beat it every time, so it's definitely a risky gamble, even though it is safe. So most of the time you're not going to be doing it raw, instead you're going to use it to end most of your combos. You typically want to do light, key blast, and then quarter circle back attack, and I prefer the medium version 9 times out of 10 because it does more damage and it also puts the opponent a bit higher into the air, although the light version does have its uses. Sometimes if your combo is very, very long, you won't actually have enough time to connect the medium version due to the stun decay, so you actually have to do the light version in those rare situations. So every now and then the light version does have its use, but I just prefer the medium version most of the time, especially for ending combos. And then you have the heavy version, which I'm honestly not sure why you would use 90% of the time. It does have one odd utility that I've never seen anyone use, myself included, which is that it has enough hit stun that you can actually combo after it in the corner, which is nuts. Now that doesn't work if you did an air combo into it. So if I launch the opponent and do a short combo here, then you'll see the heavy version doesn't work for extending combos. So I basically just wasted a bar of meter. It only works on a short combo where the opponent is still close to the ground. You can't do it after a launcher. And part of me was sincerely hoping that the recent patch would make her heavy version do a slide knockdown on the opponent. It just seemed like the right thing to do, and it seemed like an obvious change that they might make. But sadly that is not the case, so I'm still not quite sure why you would ever want to use the heavy version outside of a short combo in the corner on the ground. But even then, you have much more damaging options after a hit confirm, so I don't see why you'd ever want to really use it. If anyone in the comments watching this video is an Android 21 player, please tell me down below what reason you would want to use the heavy version, because I can't think of any. And next up, let's talk about her absorb abilities. So she has 4 different absorbs. She has a straightforward version on the ground, she has an anti-air version on the ground, and after the recent patch, this actually beats air attacks. So similar to down heavy, it's actually invulnerable to air attacks, which is really awesome. Now, that doesn't count against projectiles or key attacks, but any normal attacks from the air, this will actually beat, so it's a bit better. So if the opponent was to do a super dash and you block it, you can now do the anti-air version and try to snag them, which is nice. And then in the air, she has access to both these versions as well, so she can do an air normal version that goes straight, or she can do a version that goes up into the air. And by the way, the input for this is quarter circle back and the key button. But yeah, she has 4 different versions, 2 on the ground and 2 for the air. And what's really fascinating about this attack, aside from it being unblockable, is that she actually steals an attack from the opponent, and this depends on who she is currently fighting. I actually have a combo guide which shows off which characters are in which class, and it also shows all the combos you can do with every single ability. So if you want to check out that video, I'll put the link on screen. So make sure to give that a look if you want to see all the combo possibilities that Android 21 has with every character on the roster. And even though all these different abilities sound really cool on paper and this move seems really good, it seems like a great gimmick that Android 21 has, you just don't see very many top players using it. Even top players like Leffen will almost never do the absorb, and there's a couple big reasons for that. The first big reason is that the opponent doesn't give you many chances to set them up at all. Most of the time in fighters, you're trying to react to what the opponent's doing, so the straightforward version, right, quarter circle forward key attack on the ground, can be very useful during a block string because it's unblockable, the opponent doesn't see it coming, so you steal a move, and you get a short combo as well, so that's definitely a plus. And like I mentioned a bit earlier, if the opponent does a super dash at you, or if they're doing an air normal at you, you can do the anti-air version, which is quarter circle back and key attack. So that's a couple of good chances to use it, and you get a couple of good moves depending on who you're fighting. But outside of those 2 circumstances, you basically never get a chance to use this move. Because if I did do an air combo, just for the sole purpose of ending it with the absorb, look at where I'm at now. The opponent's very high into the air and we're almost a full screen away from each other, which neither of those scenarios are good. You want to keep the opponent close to you, so the hors d'oeuvre strike is so much better, because if I'm near the corner, I now get to put the opponent in the blender, right? Whereas if I had done the absorb instead, I actually lose access to that option because now they're outside the corner and I can't do the pressure. Even the straightforward version is bad in this situation. You almost never want to do the air absorbs outside of just getting a new move, but if I'm being honest, those new moves aren't really worth it most of the time, especially since you have to give up your wake up pressure. So even though her absorbability is cool in certain situations, you're not going to use it very often outside of the grounded versions, otherwise you risk giving up your pressure. So next up for her special moves, we have the Projectile, which is quarter circle forward and an attack. Now the light version goes straight ahead, and it's pretty fast and you can vanish cancel it. The opponent cannot dash through it, which is nice, and you get a short combo afterwards if it hits, so that's pretty cool. And then you have the medium version, which is basically an anti-air which controls the skies, especially against airborne super dashes. It's got a pretty good angle and it catches them 9 times out of 10, so if you do an attack that leaves the opponent airborne, then the medium version can be a great way to make sure they just block on wake up and don't do anything too crazy. You don't want them super dashing in on you. You can catch them with this and make them a bit more humble when they're in the air. And then you have the heavy version, which is the most interesting by far. So by default, it's not that great, although it is a bit better on block, so that makes it good. None of these attacks are safe on block right now, but the heavy version gets a bit better in a lot of ways, depending on how many absorbs you have. So the damage right now, 900. That's not bad, but if I get an absorb, let's see how much damage it does now. Ooh, 1260. But if you look down below, I did lose my ability in the process, so it does come at a cost. This damage does come at a big cost. You lose all of your abilities, and I do mean all of them. So if I had 2 abilities, I'll take 1, and then I'll take 2 because I'm a greedy Android 21 today. And now if you look at the damage, boom, 1750, but both my powers are gone. And now let's look at how much damage it does if I have 4 attacks stored up. Boom, 2520, that's more than most level 1 supers. Let's see how much damage mine does, 2200. So I spent the same amount of meter, but I got more damage and it wasn't even a super. Plus it's so fast and so big that you're not going to be able to block or avoid this thing on reaction. You're going to have to just already be blocking or already out of the way. So that's some crazy damage, but once again, chances are you're not going to get 4 different absorbs. I just wanted to show how much damage you get if you do. Oh, also it's plus on block now. It's like plus 16 or something crazy like that. It's very, very plus on block. In fact, let's go ahead and have him block because I've never actually tested this before, and the frame data I'm looking at could be lying to me. But it says it's very plus. Oh yeah, that looks very plus to me. Oh yeah, he's just forced to eat whatever I do next. So if you're right in the opponent's face and you want to spend all 4, that could be a good option, especially if you're in the corner. So yeah, you get a little mix-up afterwards, so that's pretty cool. It does have its utility for sure, but once again, you're probably never going to absorb all 4 abilities, especially if you're fighting a very strong opponent. You're just not going to want to risk it. And last but not least, we have her supers, and Android 21 actually has 3. So first up, let's start with her level 1. Covers a majority of the screen, especially on the ground. It doesn't hit in the air very well, but it covers the entire floor, so it's very good for ending your combos. It's also great for tag canceling into. Although do be warned because some characters don't have very good synergy with her. So for example, if I was to use FighterZ and do his level 1, if I tag in too late, the opponent's actually sent too high to actually hit sometimes, and that can be a real pain in the butt. That wasn't a very good example there, but trust me, I've played some ranked matches that are on YouTube if you want to watch them, and sometimes I just whiff her level 1 entirely because FighterZ sends the opponent too high. So any level 1 supers that send the opponent into the air, like way up in this area, you can't tag cancel into her super, it just won't connect. So even though it does have fantastic range on the ground, it just doesn't hit in the air. And also I do want to cover one more very important thing about her level 1. Even though you can do it in the air, she'll always teleport down towards the ground. So even if I'm way up there, she teleports back down to the floor, no matter where I am. So I can be way up here, for example, and think, oh, level 1 super, but I'm all the way on the ground. So if you're a new Android 21 player, be very wary of that. You can't just do her level 1 in the air when the opponent's really high in the sky. You have to wait for them to be down near the floor, which is fine after her hors d'oeuvre strike, right? That's the perfect time to do it. But you can't do it when you're really high in the sky, it's just not going to work. And next up we have her level 3 supers, and she of course has 2, one in the air and one on the ground. And let's go ahead and start off with the air version because it's a bit easier to explain. So the air version basically hits right in front of her and also does more damage than her ground level 3. However, it does more hits as well. So in the grand scheme of things, after a long combo, it's pretty much even most of the time, especially since comboing into it is a bit out of the way and a bit trickier to do. So the extra damage isn't really worth it. I just like how it goes all the way across the screen, because sometimes the opponent will try to do something when you're in the air. They'll try to do an air projectile or something, and you can just catch them with this, fly all the way across the screen, and nail them for it. Not to mention you can also tiger knee it. For anyone who's not aware what a tiger knee motion is, I'm going to do the quarter circle back motion, and then I'm going to keep doing it so that I jump, and right as I leave the ground I'm going to go ahead and do it. And that's what a tiger knee motion actually is. So I did quarter circle back, but then I kept rotating until I jumped, and then I pressed the super button right then and there. So you can do it instantly off the ground if you want to. There's no height requirement. You just have to be off the ground. Now sadly, outside of punishing the opponent from full screen, you're almost never going to be using this super, and you almost never see it at high level play either. Because most of the time you want to do a long combo and then end it with your ground level 3, because that's just the most convenient way to end your combos 90% of the time. So next up we have her ground level 3 super. And this also hits full screen as well, so it can still punish the opponent if they're close to the ground. And it also does a little bit less damage, but it's only 2 hits, so it pretty much scales a lot less, so the damage pretty much evens out. And also, one fascinating thing about this that I didn't even know is that it recovers a little bit of your blue health for Android 21. So let me go ahead and have Goku beat me up real quick, just to show this real quick. Just a little bit of damage. You know what, a little bit more. I'm feeling masochistic today, Goku. Keep beating me up. Hurt me. Hurt me plenty. Okay. And then give me control back to 21. Okay, here we go. So look at my blue health right there, and watch what happens to it after I take a bite of Goku. He did beat me up, so it seems fair to deal a little bit of that damage back. And boop, she regained a little bit of blue health. Now, is it enough to really matter? Maybe not. But it's just kind of cool that it does that at all. It's just one more thing that makes Android 21 unique. So yeah, it does a little bit more blue health recovery and a little less damage, but the 2 hits means that it scales less during a combo, which is great because this is going to be how you end 90% of your combos. You're going to do hors d'oeuvre strike, and then if you want to spend 3 bars, you're going to do the level 3 version on the ground. You're going to do her ground level 3, and then go for pressure afterwards, which is cool. Especially in the corner, she can do pretty much whatever she wants to the opponent. Now for mid-screen, it's not quite as good, but thankfully she does move close to them no matter what, which is good. Although I am curious, do they move to her or does she move to them? She moves to them. Okay, cool. So now I can still do whatever I want to the opponent. It's a great level 3 for pressuring them, it really is. It's a perfect distance for an instant air dash, or you can run in and go for a low, or you can do an empty jump low because she does have a low hitting crouching light, so she can do whatever she wants to after the grounded level 3. It's great for pressuring the opponent on their wake up. It does a bit less damage, but everything else is just superior in every way. Alright everyone, so that concludes this guide for Android 21. Thank you so much for watching and I hope you enjoyed. If you did, then please leave a like down below. It really does help my channel out a lot. And while you're down there, why not keep that combo going by hitting that subscribe button and ringing that bell. That way you never miss a future video. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay UnderDawgz.